Welcome to Peace, Love, and Robots, a podcast about anything and everything and all that is in between. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy, and this is episode number 30 for April 1st, 2021. That's right. It's my least favorite holiday of the year, April Fool's Day. So let this be your reminder as you go out into the world today. Do not believe anything that you read on the internet for the next 24 hours or so. But you can believe this. I absolutely love doing this show, and I'm happy that you're listening. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the ads you hear at the beginning and the end of the show. So, if you listen all the way through, I'll forever be in your debt. All right. Got that out of the way. So, I'm 30 episodes into the show. That's right, 30 episodes. That's 30 weeks, meaning I'm just past 6 months of a show every week. That is huge for me. That shows I've got some discipline, I've got some consistency, and consistency builds habits, and I've got a great habit of producing a podcast episode every week. And if you count the 31 episodes of Working Class Hero that I did for National Podcast Posting Month, or Podvember, in 2020, that's over 60 episodes of me just talking. One interview, but me just talking mostly. It's a lot of work doing a podcast, and like I said, consistency is the backbone to creating good habits. And if you've been consistently listening for any length of time, I appreciate you, and I mean that sincerely. But what I'd really appreciate would be some reviews. See, reviews only help people, they really help people know what a podcast is like. And since I'm relatively unknown out there, I'd love it if you could review the show. More reviews, people get more eyes on it. And I'm not above bribing you for it either. Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to have a contest. I started this show on September 9th of 2020. So during my 52nd episode, which will be the week of September 9th, 2021, I'm going to do a drawing. And if you write a review of this podcast on whatever podcatcher of your choice, and you send it to me along with a link of the review, so the text of the review and a link to it, send it to me at peaceloveandrobotspod@gmail.com, you'll be entered into a drawing for a prize valued at around $50. It won't be cash, but maybe a gift card. But the catch, well, I need at least 52 reviews by the date of the drawing. So that's one review per week. If I don't get 52, I don't have to pay up. That's your end of the deal. I'll give up to my end of the deal if I get 52 reviews. Now, how do I get 52 reviews when I average about 10 downloads per episode? Seems like a big ask. Well, you've got to share the show as well. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma. Don't tell your grandpa. Well, you could tell your grandpa, but he's going to be like, "Hey, what's a podcast?" Yeah. And if you're a new listener, have them send me a messenger, or if you're a new listener, have them send me a message at peaceloveandrobotspod@gmail.com and tell me who told them about the show. And both you and the person that you referred will be entered into the drawing too. So there's no limit to the amount of times you can enter. You just have to live up to all of those criteria, and I'll spell it all out on my Facebook page. And the more people you refer, the more reviews you post, the better your chance to start to win the prize. So if you post a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, that's 3. And you got to send me the reviews and send me a link to them. That's three chances. Okay. Now, if you tell your grandma, your grandma's friend, and your best friend about me, and they start listening and they email me, that's 3 more entries for you and 1 for your friend, each of your friends. Now, there are some restrictions, and if you have questions, you can direct them to the same email. The main restriction is you have to be in the continental U.S. You can't enter if you don't live in the U.S. So I'm sorry. I have a lot of fans in Thailand, apparently. You have to live in the U.S. to win, all right? Okay, so that's all the shilling I got for today. Let's get to the show. I try not to talk about heavy stuff here. I try to keep it light. But I saw something today that sort of bothered me. But let me first give you a little history. Chances are, if you're like me, you're a Christian and you're a fan of comedy. Chances are you've heard of John Crist. He was the darling of the Christian viral video world, producing some pretty funny videos. They playfully poked fun at Christian culture, like mega churches and the Christian music industry. And to be honest with you, he made me laugh. I thought he was funny. I think he's a very talented guy. However, in November of 2019, allegations surfaced, and I quote, and I'll link this article from Christianity Today, that included, but are not limited to, individually sexting, that's sending dirty messages, to multiple women during the same time period, the time period alleged in the article. The reporter, Taylor Berglund, wrote, he initiated sexual relationships with married women and women in committed relationships, offering show tickets in exchange for sexual favors and repeatedly calling these women late at night while drunk. Yeah, he made a lot of mistakes. He turned out to be a creep. See, I spoke about this at length on a previous podcast for Podvember that year. You can find it. I'll even link it in the show notes. And in that episode, I came to the conclusion that I've come to for any sexual predator in the church or in entertainment. Despite your alleged commitment to rehab for some sort of addiction, especially of a sexual nature, you need to completely step out of the limelight. That means pastors step down, stop being pastors. That means comedians who are allegedly Christians stop being comedians. You find another job. It's not just for a short time. It's forever. Because if you accept them back into the fold to do the same thing they did, which actually gave them the authority or the ability to reach the victims that they reached before, you're telling the victims of those people that it's okay. Well, they've done their time. But lo and behold, I was on Facebook like everybody is, and I saw an ad. And because here in New York, they finally lifted the ban on stand-up comedy because of the pandemic. People can go to comedy shows, limited numbers, things like that, starting in April. And I saw an ad for a comedy club nearby. It's not my favorite comedy club. It's another comedy club about an hour from my house. They are having a stand-up event with John Crist. I don't blame the club. They booked him. They may not even know what's going on with him, all right? That's within their right. And the last time he was there, every crowd was a sellout. He made them money. However, I was shocked that less than 2 years after he stepped away, and let's face it, the pandemic sort of forced everyone to take time off, he was back, performing on stage as a quote-unquote Christian comedian. So I went to his Facebook page just to see how long has this guy been doing back? How long has he been back? And it turns out he's been actively producing more content since July of 2020. Yeah, that's right. Less than a year after allegations surfaced, and he said, he did his whole mea culpa, I'm going to get help, he was right back in the limelight, acting as if nothing had happened, barely owning up to what he did wrong, and people are still sharing and laughing at his work despite this. I believe that ignorance is usually the cause, or naivete is the cause. Most people might not know what he did, right? But that's fair. He knew what he did, though, and he barely missed a step. Less than a year, 8 months? I can't do the math in my head, but July of 2020, after November, when he was accused of this. I know some people are going to say, come on, man, shouldn't we forgive? Yeah, of course. But this is not about forgiveness. This is about consequences. Just because you do something wrong doesn't mean you don't face consequences for it. And the consequences for what he did wrong should not have been 6 months of sitting on the sidelines claiming to get rehabbed. And the best consequence for someone who's in the public eye like him, someone who violated the trust and hurt women, should be he should no longer be allowed to be in the public eye. He should no longer get stage time. He should no longer produce videos. Nobody should be sharing his stuff because of what he did. And others are going to say, yeah, you're just jealous. No, I'm not. Sure, I've done stand-up comedy. I was an open micer. I didn't achieve even a fraction of his success, and I don't care. But I also never sexually harassed or manipulated women or did everything else that he's been accused of and what he owned up to. So bottom line, friends, please boycott John Crist. He's a creep. And to give him our likes, to give him our shares, and to stamp our approval on it, and to buy tickets to his shows is basically like slapping the faces of all of the women here. And giving him a chance to hurt more women. John should just go, get off stage, and just become the funniest guy at the copy counter at the local Staples. Ugh, I gotta go. I really do. If you like what you heard here or you disagree with me and you want to yell at me, feel free. You can do that. I love getting email. You can send it to peaceloveandrobotspod@gmail.com or leave me a voicemail at 585-371-8986. That's 585-371-8986. And when I hear from you, if you're yelling at me, if you disagree with me, if you want to tell me that I'm just jealous, whatever, just keep it clean so I can share it on the next episode and respond. Yeah. Peace, love, and robots. We're ready to believe you.